Most of us probably feel like we know the Book of Psalms, right? It's that collection of 150 ancient poems and prayers, smack dab in the middle of the Bible. We turn to them for comfort, for inspiration. It's some of the most beautiful language ever written. But what if I told you that's just scratching the surface?
Okay, so let's really get into it. What if that same collection of sacred songs was also, believe it or not, treated like a practical spellbook? Or what if people read it as a detailed blueprint for the future? Or, get this, even like a complex historical cold case, just packed with its own hidden clues.
It's kind of wild when you think about it. For thousands of years, different groups of people have looked at the exact same words and seen completely different things. It's like they found whole new worlds hiding inside. So today, we're going to put on 3 different pairs of glasses, if you will. We're going to look through 3 of those lenses to uncover the secret lives of the Psalms.
All right, first up, and this one might be the most surprising, is looking at the Psalms as a kind of spell book. And I mean that literally. This isn't some metaphor. For a lot of people, this was a straight-up user's guide for actually influencing the world around them.
So you're probably asking, how does a prayer become a formula? Well, one of the keys is this really interesting system called gematria. See, in ancient Hebrew, every letter also has a number assigned to it. This means you can kind of decode the text, right? You can find mystical names and powerful words hidden inside the verses. It basically turns this sacred text into a kind of operational toolkit.
And in this way of thinking, the Psalms become this incredible set of practical solutions for everyday life. It's almost like, got a problem? There's a psalm for that. Seriously. Each one is prescribed just like medicine for a very specific issue. And they'd often use really common stuff, water, oil, even just a simple piece of lead.
And we're talking incredibly specific applications here. Just look at this instruction for Psalm 18. This isn't some vague prayer for, general safety. No, this is a direct, practical command for a super immediate threat. The idea is, you say these words and the bandits will literally run away.
Or how about this one for Psalm 37? It's basically a recipe for sobering someone up. It's so tangible, right? You take a cup, you put water in it, you say the psalm over it, and boom, you expect an immediate result. It's like the psalm itself is an active ingredient in a formula.
Now, what's really fascinating here is that it wasn't just for stuff happening to you. This way of reading also focused on your own internal struggles. Take this use for Psalm 69. It's prescribed as a cure for personal things, like greed. You would literally drink the water that you prayed over to cleanse yourself from the inside out. Amazing.
And really, the range of applications covered, well, pretty much all aspects of life at that time. This one, for Psalm 123, was a procedure to make sure an escaped slave would return. It's a stark reminder of just how deeply this practical, almost magical framework was woven into the social and even the economic realities of the people who used it.
Okay, let's do a complete 180 now. We're going to switch gears completely. We're leaving the world of practical magic and stepping into the world of theology and prophecy. Specifically, we're going to see the Psalms through the eyes of the Protestant reformer Martin Luther.
See, for Luther, the power of the Psalms wasn't about trying to control the world around you. Not at all. It was about understanding God's plan and finding personal comfort. He saw the Psalms as a kind of perfect mirror for the Christian soul, like a universal compass where absolutely anyone could find their own feelings, their own struggles, written down as if the words were meant just for them.
And nothing shows the difference between these two worlds better than this. Let's take a look at Psalm 19. Through that first magical lens, it's a spell, right? You say it 7 times to drive out an evil spirit. Simple. But for Luther, he looks at the exact same words and says, no, this is a prophecy concerning the preaching of the gospel to every creature under the whole heaven. Come on, same words, 2 totally different realities.
So, you see the huge shift in focus, right? The words aren't tools for fixing today's problems anymore. Now they're signs, pointers to these massive, future events. The entire book basically becomes a coded prophecy, where King David is just the vessel, speaking these messages about a future he couldn't have even imagined.
And Luther's take on Psalm 16 is a perfect example of this. When David writes something like, "You will not abandon me to the realm of the dead," Luther doesn't think David is talking about his own problems. Nope. He sees a direct prophecy about the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ hundreds and hundreds of years in the future. Every single line gets reread through that one powerful prophetic filter.
Okay, time to move on to our third and final lens. We're leaving the worlds of magic and faith behind us now, and we're stepping into the world of modern scholarship. And from this point of view, the book of Psalms isn't a spell book, and it's not a prophecy. It's a complex historical puzzle.
Yeah, modern scholars are basically textual detectives. They're not asking what the Psalms do or what they predict. Their questions are totally different. They're asking, where did this text actually come from? How was it written and copied and edited over hundreds of years? Who changed what and why did they change it? The text itself, it becomes the scene of the crime.
Let's use a solid example to see what I mean. We're going to go back to Psalm 18. Remember that one? The one used to scare off bandits? Okay, so in the version we usually read in the book of Psalms, verse 12 describes God showing up with clouds, hail, and fire. Seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it?
Well, here's where the puzzle starts. There's an almost identical version of this same song in another part of the Bible, in the book of 2 Samuel. And as this scholar's note shows, the wording is just a little bit different. The note says the whole thing is perplexing and that we're not sure which version is the original. Now, for a scholar, that uncertainty, that's exactly where the real investigation kicks off.
And you can see the difference right here, side by side. The Psalm 18 version has the words, "His clouds came," and "hail." The version in 2 Samuel doesn't. So why? Why the difference? Was it just a simple mistake by a scribe, or was it an intentional edit for some theological reason? Which one came first? These tiny, tiny variations are the clues that scholars use to try and piece together the history of the text itself.
So, for this kind of historical detective, the real story isn't just in what the psalmist is saying. The real meaning is found in the fingerprints that history left behind, the differences between manuscripts, the weird word choices, even the mistakes a copyist might have made. All those little details tell a completely different story, the story of the book itself.
So there you have it. We've just taken a journey through 3 completely different worlds, and all of them are tucked inside the same 150 ancient poems.
First, we saw the Psalms as a kind of practical spellbook, filled with formulas to deal with life's problems. Then we saw them as a divine compass, pointing towards the future and offering spiritual comfort. And finally, we looked at them as a complex historical puzzle, a document with its own secret story just waiting to be solved.
And here's the real takeaway from all this. The words on the page, they might be thousands of years old, they might not change, but we do. We change. The meaning we find in a book like the Psalms isn't just sitting there, waiting for us to find it. It's more like a collaboration. It's an act of creation between those ancient words and the questions, the beliefs, and the tools that we bring to the table.
Each one of these lenses reveals a different kind of truth, right? A practical truth, a spiritual one, a historical one. It just goes to show that a single book can be an entire library. And that really leaves us with one final question for you. When you open a book, any book, what are you really looking for? Which world do you choose to read?